Alchemist Artificer, the Mad Scientist, the Crazy Chemist, the Potion Peddler, the Elixir Slinger, and Brew Bringer. This is the subclass you play when you want to be the ultimate magical mixologist. It's all about making crazy potions to help your team. It's such an iconic trope in fantasy media. Unfortunately, the Alchemist subclass in D&D 5th edition is not that good. In fact, it's probably the weakest Artificer subclass in the game. By a lot. Which I'm not happy about, but it does make sense. The other Artificer subclasses are Iron Man, a mini paladin with a robot dog, and a guy with a gun. Like, I logically understand why the Alchemist is weaker than those guys, but I don't play D&D for the logic. I'm here to feed my nearly naked friend a 6-pack of potions that's ominously named The Juice, and then watch him stab a giant 2-headed baboon with tentacle arms. Logic ain't welcome in this house. So let's make this mixologist able to go toe-to-toe with Tony Stark. Let's talk about why this subclass is weak and how we can improve it. So let's start with level 3. At level 3, whoa! Huh, I appear to have fallen into some kind of desert dimension. You know what, let me ask directions. Hey buddy, do you know where I am? Oh, okay, he said I have entered into the Scorched Basin. Scorched Basin is a system-agnostic Mad Max Dune Desert Death Pit-inspired TTRPG setting. This book was designed from the ground up to be easily convertible to any system, from Dungeons & Dragons to Daggerheart to Call of Cthulhu. Into Mad Max, it's got rules for vehicles and vehicle combat. It's got 10 vehicles to drive around it and get some blood on the tires. Are you more a fan of Dune and organic transportation methods? Then you can try your hand at taming one of these cuties. Are you a fan of alchemy? Well, this book has an entire alchemy system to make fun and weird concoctions. Do you feel like nature doesn't hate your players enough? Well, this book has rules to throw brutal sandstorms, rainstorms, and even lightning storms at your friends. They've had it too good for too long. Hit them with the Zeus special. And if any of this sounds interesting to you, they got free samples on their Patreon page, so check it out. What have you got to lose? Supporting this Kickstarter not only helps a great third-party publisher, but also me. I am really excited for this book. I'm gonna make my players fight a Dune Eater in a lightning storm while they drive around and bash together construction equipment. So please use my link in the description below or use the QR code on screen to go support the Scorched Basin Kickstarter. And now, let's get back to Alchemist. At level 3, you get Experimental Elixir. It lets you make an elixir with various magical effects. This feature lets you make a set amount of free elixirs with a randomly chosen effect from this table, or you can spend a spell slot to create an elixir with any of the effects that you want. And it takes an action to drink this elixir. Oof. Anyone who played Baldur's Gate 3 is not gonna like that. The effects do the following. Healing, aka a cup full of stem cells. Restore 2d4 plus your intelligence modifier and hit points. That's less than the new 2024 Cure Wounds. So again, oof. Say what you will about the 2024 rules for D&D, they made healing spells better and way more worth your spell slots. So this amount of healing for your action is pretty bad. Swiftness, aka a double shot of espresso, gives more speed for an hour. It's the long strider spell. Resilience, aka a shaker cup full of wet concrete, give +1 AC for 10 minutes. Love that. It's a lesser version of Shield of Faith with no concentration. Cool. Boldness, aka a bottle full of holy water, lets you add 1d4 to all saving throws and attack rolls for a minute. So a mini bless. Love that. I wish these time frames were a bit more consistent though. Flight, aka a thermos full of helium, gives a fly speed of 10 feet for 10 minutes. I don't like giving out fly speeds before level 5. I don't care if it's as slow as a hot air balloon in a light breeze. I hate it. I like my cross the pit puzzles. Sue me. As a DM, I personally would rather they have anything else. This gets a meh out of 10 from me. Transformation, aka polyjuice potion from that book people used to base their whole personalities on. The drinker gets transformed as if by the alter self spell and can choose to look however they want for 10 minutes. There are some edge cases where that can be helpful, but Overall, these elixir effects are pretty weak. You can spend a spell slot to choose which effect you get, but all the effects you would want for a fight are just level 1 spells or somewhat comparable to level 1 spells. So as a level 3 feature, that's just an expanded spell list. That's not an extra resource for you to use. However, it does give you a resource at the end of every long rest with a random elixir, but the random elixirs are just not dependable or worth it. It takes an entire action to drink one of these. I am not spending my entire action downing a shot of mystery moonshine. I'm using my action to attack twice. So you would most likely use this before a fight, and sometimes preparation is just a luxury you do not have. The effects can be helpful, sure, but they don't feel worth it for the randomness involved. Okay, this elixir gave the barbarian a fly speed of 10 feet. and we are level 17. I really don't think that's gonna help us against the dragon who looks like it smuggles basketballs in its neck. It just feels bad, especially because these potions do not come with any meaningful scaling. The first dependable scaling comes when an elixir always gives out temp HP at level 9. Where were you 6 levels ago? I nearly got eaten by a fugly lizard with a massive goiter. I could have really used the help then, Mr. Elixir. Even when you make an elixir with a spell slot higher than level 1,
you get nothing!
An elixir you make with a 1st level spell slot and an elixir you make with a 5th level spell slot are exactly the same. What kind of ripoff is that? Got any other fun ways I can waste my resources? Want me to tip my landlord next? Compare this ability to the other abilities the other Artificer subclasses get. Artillerist can summon a robot cannon / flamethrower that he can shoot as a bonus action, and Armorer can turn into Iron Man. Who would win in a fight? Iron Man or the dude whose signature ability is making toilet wine? Also, every elixir you make requires its own flask? What is this micromanaging bullshit? I track food in rations in my D&D games, and even this is too much micromanaging for me. Yeah, I wanted to use my cool toilet wine ability, but oops, I ran out of solo cups. I guess I don't have a 3rd level feature now. I would have been helpful if only we stopped by Costco before our fight with the kidney stone who wished upon a star to become a dragon. So clearly this feature needs a huge buff. It needs reliability, proper scaling, more consistent time frames, and getting rid of that stupid flask requirement. Though an important part of this is the randomness. It helps sell the mad scientist vibe. I, an enlightened D&D player, embrace the randomness of the game. This, at its core, is a game about rolling dice. To me, rejecting that concept is heresy. Alright, Jesus, take the wheel! So we gotta keep the random element of this, but still make it worth it to use. For our first buff, this ability doesn't require a flask. You magically make a flask, or you store them in water balloons, or you make some containers out of the skulls of your enemies. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. Second, let's give this some reliability. We change it so you can drink this elixir as a bonus action. If you feed this potion to a downed creature, it takes an action. I wrote that into the rules of this feature, but honestly, I think that people should use that rule as the standard for all potions. Baldur's Gate 3 had it right, dude. It's so funny to me that Larian made a better version of D&D than WotC could. Like, Larian dog walked them. It's so good. Anyway, if drinking a potion is a bonus action, it helps Marshall stay in the fight longer. So hey, that's a Marshall buff. A Marshall buff? What is this? Another video on how to buff Marshalls? Can't be. There are no bullet holes in the top left. To make them even more reliable, we will change it so whenever someone drinks an elixir, it always grants temporary hit points. When a creature drinks an elixir made from a 1st level spell slot, it gives you 2d4 temp HP. When a creature drinks one of your random elixirs you get at the end of a long rest, they receive even more temp HP, 2d4 plus your Artificer level. So no matter what random roll you get, you will always have some buffer to your health. With temp HP, you and your team can drink these elixirs before or at the beginning of a fight, then get your random effect at the start so you can plan accordingly. I view the Alchemist as a support class, a buffing class, one after my own non-existent heart. So being able to help out your team before a fight makes sense, and what better way to help out your team than to pregame a few brewskis? Next, let's improve the scaling. So I could improve the effects by just increasing the numbers as you level up, but I have a way more fun idea. We change how many effects you get from the elixirs. The amount of effects the drinker gets from the random elixir is equal to the Alchemist's proficiency bonus. So at 3rd level, that's 2 options, already way better than the original. But by level 17, your random potions give out temp HP and every single effect from the potion. And it makes sense that you get better at making potions as you level up. You become a better alchemist as you go, and so too do your potions. You're able to craft greater, more powerful potions and less likely to blow up your funny crystal lab. Up until level 17, the effects you get will be random, but all those abilities will stack, giving you a wide array of buffs, and you are way more likely to get the buffs you want. If you want to get an elixir with a specific effect, you can still spend a spell slot to create an elixir with said effect. And we will add upcasting to this feature, so for every spell slot over level 1, you can choose 1 additional effect for the elixir, and it grants an additional 1d4 temporary hit points. Next thing we are changing is the effects themselves. We are going to make them a bit better and have more consistent time frames. For the most part. And I'm switching them around so the effects go from weakest to strongest. in my opinion. We are replacing healing. The guaranteed temp HP makes healing a bit redundant, especially if the idea is you drink the potion before a fight and before you take damage, so I'm replacing this with an altered version of transformation. It still lets the drinker cast Alter Self on themselves and still last 10 minutes, but it also lets the drinker add 1d4 onto all their skill checks. This is great in a non-combat situation, but is the weakest in a fight for your life type scenario. However, you can do some shenanigans with this. Let's say you're fighting a bunch of bandits. When you drink this potion, you could transform to look like one of the bandits in the middle of a fight and cause a lot of confusion. Then you can use that extra d4 for your deception checks when that inevitably comes up. I mean, it doesn't change your clothes, but I'm sure it's fine.
Get rid of him, we have no time to lose. It's me, Hank. I'm the real Connor. Shoot him, Lieutenant!
Okay, Raggy. For the second effect, we have Robustness, which lets the drinker be affected by the Aid spell, which increases your max HP by 5 and lets you recover 5 HP. This will make you a bit more hardy. This effect lasts as long as the Aid spell does, which is 8 hours. All the rest of the effects I changed last for 10 minutes. This is the only effect that doesn't last 10 minutes. Well, I guess the temp HP from the elixir, like all temp HP, lasts until the end of a long rest, but in all fairness, 8 hours might as well be until your next long rest. Also, quick tip for the Aid spell, whenever you track HP, add a +5 next to your max HP instead of changing the number of your max HP. This way you'll remember your HP goes back down once the spell is over and you don't accidentally increase your max HP every time the spell is cast on you. Remember, you don't want multiple instances of the Aid spell. That goes from buff to debuff really quick. It goes from magic to Magic Johnson, if you know what I'm saying. The third effect is Swiftness. It increases your walking speed by 10 feet for 10 minutes. I lowered the time limit to be a bit more consistent with the others, considering you get multiple effects and temp HP. I don't think lowering the time you have that extra speed will hurt you too much. The fourth effect is Resilience. The only change here is at level 9, it goes from +1 AC to +2 AC.
Damn, boy, he's thick! That's a thick-ass boy!
The fifth effect is Boldness. It's still a mini bless, but now it lasts 10 minutes. For effect number 6, I'm getting rid of the flight. Being able to give everyone a fly speed, or at least a pretty good chance of getting a fly speed, is annoying. I hate it. It is all the speed of a blimp with mono, but I'm still going to Hindenburg this effect. I'm replacing it with something that's a bit more palatable, at least for me, Strong Arm. The drinker gains a climb speed equal to their walking speed for 10 minutes. Additionally, during those 10 minutes, when the drinker hits a creature with an attack, they can roll a d4 and add the number rolled onto the damage. The elixir is still giving you a movement speed option, but it also gives you something that's more likely to come up in battle. The drink fills your limbs with strength to not only pull yourself along walls easier, like some kind of jacked squirrel, but to strike your enemies even harder.
Chip, I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
So at level 17, your random potions give you all of this. That's a d4 to attack rolls, damage rolls, saving throws, skill checks. That includes initiative checks, a bunch of temp HP, +5 to max HP, faster walking speed, which increases that climbing speed you get, +2 AC, and you can transform into looking like anyone, like a dragonborn that was riddled with birth defects. For an elixir you get at level 17, I think that's pretty dang good. Though at level 3, I think only getting one random elixir at the end of a long rest is kinda weak. Plus, you're really gonna make your bro drink all by his lonesome? Shotgunning glass bottles of suspicious syrup is best done with company. So, let's change it so you can share some elixirs with your friends. At level 3, you can make 2 random elixirs at the end of a long rest, and you get more as you level up. 3 at level 9, and 4 at level 15. D&D is not all about decapitating goiter monsters. Sometimes it's just about cracking open a cold one with the boys. And then decapitating a goiter monster. I like to have a nice buzz when I'm committing ultraviolence.
Gonna kill you and then keep killing you and I'll never...
What do you think these elixirs taste like? It's gotta taste like medicine, right? Not that this dragon would know what that tastes like. The crystals hovering around your body tells me you're really into crystals, but the neck tells me you also have the health of someone really into crystals. Now that we buffed up this elixir, you and your team can get smashed and get smashing. In a violent way, not an intimate way. Though with the transformation effect, you could pop. Next up at level 3 is their expanded spell list. Funny thing about the spells Alchemist gets, I thought a bunch of these spells were already on the Artificer spell list. Turns out they're not. You'd think Ray of Sickness or Raise Dead would be on the Artificer spell list, but nope. Anyway, the spell list is fine. Moving on to their last level 3 ability. Tool Proficiency. It gives proficiency in alchemy tools. A real shocker that Alchemist got this, I know. Really giving M. Night Shyamalan a run for his money. At face value, that seems okay. It gives proficiency in a thing that lets you make potions, right? Nope! That's not what alchemy supplies do in 5e. You know what they do? They can make exciting things, like perfume, oil, and paper. They can make Alchemist Fire, which when thrown onto a creature, makes them take 1d4 burning at the start of each of their turns. Oh boy! What do you think it costs to make this incredibly powerful weapon of mass destruction? It takes 40 hours and costs 25 gold to make what is effectively just a Molotov cocktail. Something I, the person voicing Skelly right now, in real life, with no training or magic powers, can make in 2 minutes for around $3. But in D&D, this bottle with liquid in it takes 40 hours to make. 40 entire hours to make something that only deals 1d4 damage. If you split that 40 hours up into 8-hour days, that is an entire work week. Whatever the gold cost for an item you are trying to craft is, divide that by 10. That's how many 8-hour days it takes to craft something, plus half the cost of the item in raw materials. That's from the 2024 version of the rules. In the Xanathar's book, to make Alchemist fire with alchemy tools, it took only 1 long rest. Way more reasonable. Well, maybe these alchemist tools can do other cool things. It can start a fire, okay, that's something. Or it would be if it didn't require a DC 15 check to do. What the f? Most spellcasters can just do that as a cantrip for free, and every PC starts out with a tinderbox. Why is it such a hard check? How did... Okay, that's what the alchemist tools can do. And none of those things are make a cool potion. The rules for making potions are either A, time-consuming and expensive, or B, WotC telling you to figure it out on your own. I've seen people suggest you can let players search for materials so they can make their own concoctions without spending gold. Maybe this is a hot take, but that idea is dog water. I don't want to have to keep track of all the plants in any given area and what each plant does. That's just more work for me to prepare. As a DM, the idea is a total turd for me. I prepared a cool cave full of traps and puzzles and a dragon that's tied to everyone's backstories. I do not want to have to make an entire ecological web on top of all of that other stuff. And this foraging stuff is just not interesting. Going through a cool cave full of danger is interesting. Truffle hunting is not. It's just a pause in the interesting stuff in the game because you know the Alchemist is the only one paying attention to that. All your other players absolutely tuned the out for your talk that sounds like it belongs in a nature documentary. Even in the cold mountains of the Arctic, life finds a way. The rare goat-scrote flower is often found growing in warm caves, its beauty sheltered from the unforgiving winds of the north. The warmth is being supplied by a crystal dragon. Not all dragons are born majestic and powerful. Some are born fat and stupid. The entire species has managed to not go extinct despite their collective and exponential idiocy. We find this adult male choking on a large boulder it tried to eat when it mistook it for a gray meatball. Truly, nature does not have a plan. It makes frequent and catastrophic mistakes. I get that people want to make potions, I understand that, but Truffle Hunt 2000 is not the answer. If your answer involves increasing the DM's prep time for something way less interesting, that ain't worth it, Chief. So, how do we go about fixing this? Well, I guess it's not fixing because there's hardly anything there, but what if you got those alchemical ingredients from something we know will appear in the game? Get that goiter over here, Whitey. Creatures will always appear in games. In most games, you're going to be slaying baddies, monsters, and baddies. So why not recycle those baddie bodies, or what's left of them, and use that for your alchemical brews? This way, the DM doesn't need to get their online degree in botany just to let the players make a cool drink. It's like Breath of the Wild, where you can take monster parts to make special consumables. So that's what I did. I made a whole rule system for extracting monster parts and turning them into alchemical potions, poisons, oils, and bombs. The larger the creature, the more parts you harvest from them. The more powerful the potion, the more creature parts you need. Different types of creature parts make different types of concoctions. Like dragon parts make something different than fae parts, or creatures that can regenerate, or creatures with legendary actions. The rules for making these potions are very simple. Any creature proficient with alchemy tools is able to make one potion during a long rest. And while the rules are simple, I may have went a little overboard with how many potions, poisons, oils, and bombs you can make. There are like over 90 of them. It's 12 pages of things you can make with alchemy tools. Going in depth into that system is way outside the scope of this video. I'll go over it in another video if people want me to, but if you're interested in actually using alchemy at your table, there is a link to the rules in the description of this video, so there you go. I definitely am not the first to think of a system like this. Breath of the Wild came out in 2017, and that is where I got the idea from. Shout out to the Ugly Goblins YouTube channel for doing something very similar to this, check them out. I wrote this alchemy system because if you're making an alchemist, the whole fantasy is times making crazy potions to either help or harm people. That's what people want to do. So with that in mind, I'm making a new ability to replace an Alchemist's tool proficiency feature. We are giving them Shrewd Concoctor. It still gives you alchemy tool proficiency, but now using my alchemy system, any potion, poison, oil, or bomb you make requires half the amount of resources to create, and while most people can only make one concoction during a long rest, the Alchemist can make an amount equal to their intelligence modifier. So you're like a tiny distillery with legs. Slay a giant, boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em at a potion, and bam! You got yourself a giant potion that lets you grow in size and strength. And it only took a long rest to make, not an entire work week to make something that only deals 1d4 damage. I'm never gonna get over that. Holy hell. Level 5. At level 5, holy crap, level 3 took up most of the video. Oh, I need a drink. I need the juice. And hey, if you like this video or the changes I made to Alchemist, I'm assuming you do if you're this far into the video, consider liking and subscribing, and leave a comment. I respond to those. And if you want to go even further in supporting me and the things I do on this channel, consider checking out my Patreon. My patrons have access to all my playtest material before it goes into these videos and help me balance it out so it can be good and polished for these videos. There is playtest material for Artificer infusions that make you stronger while also making your teammates stronger, buffs to Purple Dragon Knight fighters, and even blood magic spells. I'm also working on Ranger, wink wink, nudge nudge. So from liking the video to becoming a patron, any and all of that stuff just helps me pay rent, so thank you. At level 5, we get Alchemical Savant. It gives you a bonus to healing spells and damage dealing spells that deal acid, fire, necrotic, or poison damage. The healing spell boost I get, but the damage buff seems a bit out of place. Like, okay, I could kinda see dealing more poison and acid damage for the subclass if there were any features that supported that playstyle. But there are not. The expanded spell list, maybe, if we are counting that. I don't. Flat damage upgrades are something I consider to be really boring design. It's not really giving you the option to do anything unique, it's just better math. Which, for a base class, that could be okay, but for a subclass, I think it's bad design. There are times where it makes sense if your character is playing a very narrow and restrictive way, or there is some kind of risk and reward involved to get a damage boost. Then I think it makes sense. But with a guaranteed no risk damage boost, if you want all the other subclasses of that class to be comparable, you need to also give those other subclasses similar damage upgrades. The Artificer subclasses all get one at level 5, which are either extra attack or a damage boost on spells. If it's that important to give a damage boost to all Artificer subclasses, just make it a main class ability. Choose between extra attack or boosted damage on spells. Easy. Or you can be like the Ranger subclasses, the pinnacle of manic sporadic dumpster design. Those subclasses also get damage boosts, but they range from every min-maxing multi-class build is going to take this in an attempt to eviscerate God, to this feature literally incentivizes you to fight worse. So I'm changing Alchemical Savant a little bit. I'm getting rid of the damage boost, but you can still add your intelligence modifier onto healing spells. It also gives a boost to any healing gained from potions or elixirs you create. Pretty good, but that's still kind of boring. So let's add another feature at level 5. Now, you are either going to love this ability or hate it. It really depends on your feelings toward RNG. I present to you a feature that I, an enlightened D&D player, an enjoyer of random numbers, love dearly. This feature is called a little sip. Every time the Alchemist drinks a potion, they have a 50% chance to gain the effects of the potion, but not consume the potion. For example, if you have a potion of fire resistance, you can take a little sip, gain fire resistance, and possibly still have enough potion left over for someone else to drink that potion and also gain fire resistance. This feature also applies to your elixirs as well. Want to buff yourself with a random daily elixir, but also want to help your teammate? Well, roll the dice and take a little sip. It also works for any other potion-like item or consumable. Are you currently bleeding out and about to go meet God? Well, if your barbarian puts a potion to your lips, all you need is a little sip to flip off St. Peter and come back to the world of the living. And why not celebrate your recent cardiac arrest and cosmic coin flip winnings with the rest of that healing potion? Double the healing for the same potion! The only caveat to this ability is you cannot use this feature on the same individual consumable twice. This bit of text was added to stop any wicked lucky alchemist from using one healing potion as a never-ending supply of HP. You are supposed to share your potions with your friends, my dude. Just don't backwash. Now, is beer considered a consumable? I'd say so. Now, I'm not saying you can use a little sip on an entire boot of beer to get drunk from one sip, but I'm not saying that. The Alchemist is the ultimate potion guy, so why not let them drink potions better too? Like I said, you either love this ability or you hate it. It really depends on how random chance makes you feel. That being said, I don't understand people who play D&D but dislike random chance. It's like, sir, This is a game built around rolling dice, tools famously used for games of chance. It's like ordering tacos even though you don't like Mexican food. It's very my brother in Christ, you made the Subway sandwich coded. Level 9, Restorative Reagents. It lets you cast Lesser Restoration 5 times a day for free. Not bad. It also gives anyone who drinks one of your elixirs temporary hit points. We already did that, so we're just gonna change this feature to give out regular hit points. So for a level 1 spell slot, you can give a creature an elixir with an effect of your choosing, 2d6 plus 5 hit points, and 2d4 temporary hit points. Pretty good for a support class, but it could use a little bit more power in my opinion. They get resistance to poison damage at level 15, so let's just give that to them early. Poison resistance. It's resistance to poison and advantage on saving throws against being poisoned. Pretty self-explanatory. Moving on to level 15. Level 15 gives us Chemical Mastery. This feature gives you acid resistance, sure, why not, and gives you immunity to the poison condition. Huh. So if the Alchemist takes a little sip of that Buddha beer and then downs the whole thing and then does an hour-long keg stand, will they not get drunk? Well, that's kind of depressing if that's true. I guess they're gonna have to move on to harder stuff then. Well, thankfully, they told me they could quit doing chems they found at the gas station anytime they wanted, so that's reassuring. It's like me and my so-called addiction to buffing subclasses in D&D. Ridiculous. This feature also allows them to, once per a long rest, cast Greater Restoration and heal! Oh, baby! Do you know how good heal is? It cures a creature of blindness, deafness, and any disease they might have, and it gives a flat 70 points of healing. Oh my god, it's so good. This has saved my party's barbarian so many times. Dude, the new Unearthed Arcana Alchemist got rid of the heal spell for this piece of spell that only gives out like 5 potions of healing. That's an average of 35 points of healing. Healing that's over the course of multiple turns, by the way. What's that? Tasha's Cauldron of Dog Water can make potions other than potions of healing? Well, this spell was printed in the 2024 Player's Handbook. Were those other potions also printed in this book? They weren't? They were printed in the Dungeons Master Guide? So to make this spell anywhere near worth using, I need to pay a minimum of $30 even though I might have already paid for this book? Oh, well, you know what I think of that? Heal is way better. We are keeping it. Also, if you are interested in the potions from the new Dungeon Master Guide, then you might be interested in this cool word of power I know. You should be able to understand this mystical word if your mind is properly attuned. I will tell you how to say this word of power. Are you ready? All right, here I go. Yo-ho. Yarr. Thank you for the book, Swashbuckler Rogue. Yarr. Okay, have a good day now. Bye-bye. Kisses. Mwah. Yeah, the level 15 feature is really solid. It doesn't need much help. It doesn't really need a buff. I don't need to give it a buff at this level. Like, I don't need to do it. Like I kind of want to, but I don't need to do it. I can stop adding buffs whenever I want. You know, but maybe, let's have some fun. You know, just one more for the road as a treat. The last thing we will add is the effects of the experimental elixirs that lasted 10 minutes, now last an hour. So now you can really buff up your team to go tackle any Adam's apple dragons that are in your way. And that's it. That's the last buff for this subclass. The last teeny thing we could change is for a little sip. What if we just had it so you could use a little sip on the same potion multiple times in a row? I'm kidding. The time limits to the elixirs was the last buff, and I meant it. But like, wouldn't it be crazy if you could just keep winning your 50-50 to drink the same healing potion over and over again? That would be crazy, but totally unbalanced. We can't have that. But it would be like really cool if you allowed it though. But we totally shouldn't. You know, but it would be cool. But no. But what if we did though? No. No. Big thank you to Scorched Basin for sponsoring this video. Please check out their Kickstarter. Shoutouts to the patrons: Beefmaster, Jesse Eaton, Nolan46, Penko6, Blackblooded Beast, Captain Halcyonics, Comet Luna, Quebeco, Hayden Tisthammer, Manifestring, Random Guy Variety, Spark Drake, Absenthia Lucci, Alex Score, Anymoose, Sens, Christopher Cook, Dice Monkey, Ed Boy, Fruit Basket, Fusro Dog, Iskander711, James Spear, King Storm, Mr. Nobody 13, Mullock, Nama Maori, Pat Hughes, Poggers Extreme, Seductive Squidward, Seth Nyaw, Spartus Maximus 1, Wet Toaster, Zachaloo, and Xander 3. Thank you guys so much. You are all the best.